So I've been using the iPhone 14 Pro Max now for about 2 months, and I'm gonna be real with you. It's not all Tom Brady and the Buccaneers when we won the Super Bowl. It's more so like Tom Brady this year when we're looking terrible. But I want to talk about my experience with it after 2 months. You know, I don't really do talking about phones and different things like that. I stick to the accessories, but I felt like people ask me, so I'm giving you the video. All right, we're gonna do this as a discussion where I'm sitting down and talking to you about my experience, and we're gonna hit the top points. We're just gonna display, battery, camera, performance. We're gonna keep it at that. So let's go ahead and get into it. And the first thing that I want to talk about is always on display, and I turned the always on display on just for this video because I keep it off. I don't keep it on, I keep it off. If you're like myself and you're like an Android user, or if you like Android devices, always on display is nothing new. We've been had it forever, and I've been wanting Apple to bring it to the iPhone for a very long time, and they did it. And I like I like the implementation of the always on, but Apple, we need to be able to adjust this brightness on the AOD. And also, it needs to not drain so much battery. Now, does it drain a bunch of battery? No, but it's enough for me to tell a difference when I'm using the AOD. And yes, when you're in a dark room, now, when you're in a dark room, I'm putting the phone down. I'm going to bed. I'm not necessarily even looking at my device. It's on the charger. It's on do not disturb. I could care less, but it is a little bright, all right? It is a little bright. Let's just say that. I wish we did have the ability to turn the brightness down or at least adjust it to see how bright it is. But I like how they did it. I like the implementation of it, of having a picture back here so where you can see it and it just kind of makes your wallpaper darker. For some reason, I like that. I mean, it's just, I like it. Just make it a little bit to we'll be able to dim it, give us a little bit more customization, which we know Apple probably isn't going to do. Hell, we just probably got widgets a little while ago. I would like to see something more get done with this always on display, but I do like how it's set up. I like what they did. Just allow us to tweak it a little bit, and I think we'll be good to go. Now, the next thing that we got to talk about is the dynamic island. During the keynote, when they showed the dynamic island, I was like, that is dope, because nobody really saw it coming. They just left field, blindsided us talking about this dynamic island. And for me using it, I'm gonna be real with you. It's nice, it's there, it has its benefits, but I can do without it. All right. Now I know this is very first. We're just getting going on with the dynamic island. A lot of third-party companies have to, adapt to the apps and different things like that. They have to be able to utilize the dynamic island. I used my iPhone 14 Plus for a little bit, for a week or two. I did not miss it. But what I do like about the dynamic island is it serves kind of like a multitasking type of little window pane, if I can say that. So if you're watching some music, if you're listening to YouTube or something like that, you can, pop it up and then you can play it and then it'll minimize up there in the corner. And if you want to get back to it, you just press it and it goes back to the actual video. Same thing when it comes to navigation. If navigation and you're listening to something, you can click on either or and it'll open up that corresponding app. Now that is what I really do like about the dynamic island. And I think a lot of people don't really care. I think they're missing that part of it. So I think it acts as, kind of like a multitasking type of little area, and I can get down with that. Now I know they just added the live alerts, the sport alerts, and different things like that. I haven't necessarily tried it out, but it does seem like it's a pretty cool idea. But I feel like it's early with Dynamic Island. I feel like once third-party apps can get on board and really utilize it, I think that's when we'll see the not always on display, but I think that's when we'll see the dynamic island take off, and I think it'll be beneficial. Now, the number one thing, which is almost crazy to say, that I like about this device has to be how bright this screen gets. Now, there's nothing more aggravating than using the phone, going outside, and your screen brightness is just tanked. It's not there. You can't see your phone. You got to cup it. You got to do so much just to see a display. Look, you don't got to worry about that when it comes to this 14 Pro Max. This thing is absolutely insane with how bright it gets. Now, me just turning the brightness up in this video just completely blows this image out 1000%. But when you go outside, I still think it gets even brighter, if I'm not mistaken, of how that screen brightness works. This is just this type of bright, but when you go outside, I think it gets a step brighter, if I'm not mistaken. But long story short, if you're one of those people that work outside, or if you're outside a lot and you need to see your phone display, look, let me tell you something. This 14 Pro Max and the Pro is going to be able, you can use your phone outside perfectly fine. And it's funny that that is almost one of the most exciting things that I like about the 14 Pro Max. It's kind of sad, man. So that's it when it comes to the display. Always on display. I like it. Apple tweak it. When it comes to the dynamic island, it needs to get a little bit more dynamic. You know what I mean? Let's go ahead and move to the cameras. Now, this is where you're going to have a different point of view, a different opinion when it comes to the cameras. In my opinion, I like the camera on the 13 Pro Max a little bit better than the 14 Pro Max. Now, the reason why I say that is because Apple just needs to work on HDR, all right? The HDR on iPhones are absolute dumpster juice because you can get some very nice pictures and you can get some very bad pictures. Now, I know a lot of people watching this video, you may not be a camera snob like myself, 3 or 4 cameras up in here, but we all can agree with one thing. If you pull out your phone, you take a picture, you're gonna want a nice looking shot. You don't want your highlights blown out. You don't have to not know cameras to know your highlights are blown out. So take this picture, for example. I was doing a store pickup at Best Buy and I seen this guy in the Audi e-tron and I had to snap a picture of it because it was absolute fire. All my car heads, let me know in the comment section down below. Lower, dope, snap that picture and I was like, that is a bad picture. Look at that HDR, all right? It just did not look good. But in other times, taking this picture of my son, it's absolutely spot on. HDR works amazingly well. Take another picture of my son. HDR doesn't work so well. Last picture of my son, because that's what I take a lot of pictures of, HDR works perfect. So it really just depends on what lighting scenario that you're in, where HDR either be spot on or it can just be completely terrible and just blows out the highlights. iPhone's been doing this for a while and I wish they could really narrow that down to where they can fix that because that processing, it ain't doing it when it comes to HDR. Another thing that I dislike about the cameras is when it's time to, when it's post-processing a picture. iPhone pictures have never been as sharp as they are, in my opinion, on the 14 Pro Max. Now, I'm not even sure if I have an example of this. I'm pretty sure I can throw up some type of picture where you can see what I'm talking about, but the sharpness, the colors, something just seems off when it comes to the 14 Pro Max of how it's processing pictures after you take it. Now, I have the Pixel 7 Pro. You don't got to worry about any of those things when you're taking that. Yeah, Pixel can sometimes crush the blacks a little bit, but I will take that more so than over sharpen, bad HDR, and bad colors. Now, am I just knocking on the iPhone's camera? No, we know it's one of the more stable and consistent cameras, but I feel like at this point, other cameras are getting so good when it comes to Samsung, when it comes to Pixel, the iPhone can step it up just a little bit, especially when we're talking about zoom and different things like that. Portrait mode seems okay. I don't even know if I've taken a portrait mode picture. And also when it comes to video side of things, the video, we all know iPhone is amazing when it comes to video, all right? They got the action mode. I haven't used that. I'm not running around like a madman with my phone recording. If I'm running around, I'm playing with my son. I don't got time to be recording, all right? But action mode, I'm pretty sure it works well. You've seen some videos of people use action mode. Selfie camera is improved. Now, that's one thing that I enjoyed to see. I don't necessarily take a bunch of selfies, but I know my girlfriend does, and she likes the cameras, the pictures that's coming out of it, and she has a 14 Pro Max, and she can tell that that's the difference because she came from a 12 Pro Max. So it's good to see the selfie camera improve, but the camera that most people are going to whip out their phone, take a picture of, is those back cameras. They just need to work on a few things. I feel like they got very stagnant because iPhone was the top when it came to cameras, and they've been given that accolade for so long. People are starting to catch up and pass them when it comes to their camera. Solid camera, but I would like to see some improvements. In some areas, I think 13 Pro Max take better pictures. Now, before I continue the video, I know some of you are asking yourself, what is that clean case that he has on his iPhone 14 Pro Max? And I want to stop, pause, tell you a little bit about the channel sponsor, and that's going to be Caudabe and their Sheath. So if you're looking for one of the most clean, minimalistic style cases for the 14 Pro Max, look no further than Caudabe Sheath. Starting off, you get a very nice texture that goes all the way around the phone. It's really going to allow you to get a good grip on the 14 Pro Max, not be irritable to your skin, but it's going to allow you to hold on to the phone because you know that's a big boy phone. You get very nice tactile, clicky buttons. You get a nice lip that's going to go around the front to protect that screen. On the back side, you're also going to get a matching lip to protect those camera bumps. And you get a very nice snug fit. This case fits like an absolute glove on the phone. And also, for my MagSafe users out there, you're gonna get some of the strongest MagSafe magnets that's out there on a case. You can get this whole package for under 40 bucks. That's a win-win in my opinion. Of course, you're gonna get a few different colors so you can match your iPhone up. If you already have a Sheath case, which I know a lot of you do, Let me see that hashtag Sheath Gang up in the comment section down below. Links down below. Go grab yourself up one. You will not be disappointed. Let's go ahead and get back talking about this 14 Pro Max. Now, this next thing right here it just annoys me so bad coming from the 13 Pro Max, and that is going to be battery life. Now, I know battery life is super subjective, all right? It's going to be different for everybody's use case, but for my use case, and I've seen some other people talk about this as well, the battery life is just not what it was when it came to the 13 Pro Max. And Apple claimed that this was going to get better battery life than the 13 Pro Max. And for me, it ain't happening, all right? Now, I don't want to dwell too much on battery life. For me, I know I can nuke this thing in a day if I go hard. Vice versa to the 13 Pro Max. If I use that thing hard, I wasn't killing that in a day. It just would not work. You had to fight to kill the 13 Pro Max. But this one, I feel like you can drain it pretty good. Now, is it going to make it through the day of a regular working day, me working on my phone time to time again as I'm doing checking emails, texts? It's going to do that just fine. But we're talking about long-term endurance. The 14 Pro Max is still going to be a better battery life than most devices out there. Let's go ahead and put it out there now. I'm not saying that it's terrible. It's just not what I expected coming from the 13 Pro Max and that great battery life that we have. But if you're a normal user, you're not going to be on your phone a lot like I am, responding to YouTube comments, sending emails, taking work calls. You'll be just fine. For somebody who goes hardcore, I'm personally, all right, this is just me, I'm just having a hard time of making it through the day with this phone. It just annoys me a little bit coming from the 13 Pro Max. Now, that's all I'm going to say about battery. It's different with everybody, whether you got a good sales service in your area, coverage, whatever apps you have on your phone, it's going to be a little bit different. But in my opinion, it's just not what it was coming from the 13 Pro Max. Now, the last thing I want to talk about, it's got to be performance. And this is going to lead into that thing which I call a little bit of bugs. Now it's time to bring the bug spray out, all right? And this is what's bothering me with the 14 Pro Max, and this is why I'm having a little bit of regret when it comes to this phone. I got a bunch of stuff wrong with this phone. I'm talking about Bluetooth issues constantly happening. As I was setting everything up, I'm trying to pop a video in my ear with my AirPods. Wasn't connected. Just will not connect. It plays through the phone. Just will not pair, all right? That's the issues that I'm having time and time again when it comes to this. That's just one. Number two issue is screen just glitches and just does what it wants to do. If I'm in an app and I try to swipe up, it'll just give me like a little vibrate, but it will not actually dismiss the app. It won't go back to my home screen. I have to physically cut the screen down, open it back up, hit the Face ID to unlock it, and then I can swipe and do what I want to do. What? Like, and on top of that, I'm just having a few other little glitches where the screen will just freeze up, become unresponsive. And I know a lot of people in the comments are going to be like, that ain't my phone. My phone works perfectly fine. And that could be true, but I'm just experiencing a bunch of bugs. I did a factory reset. I did everything that you could think of besides go to Apple and get it replaced. And I said I might go out there today to get it replaced, or tomorrow. It depends on what time I can get done with this. But something isn't right. Something is just off somewhere, and it really is bothering me to the point where it's not making an enjoyable experience when it comes to this 14 Pro Max. Not what I expected. Going into it, I didn't really expect a bunch of great things to come from this phone. I thought it was a step up, but in my opinion, overall, it's just not doing what I thought it was going to do. Like I said, a lot of these phones are getting amazing. S22 Ultra, probably one of the best phones this year, in my opinion. Pixel 7 Pro, right up there for being one of the best phones. Z Fold 4, all of those phones came out and they barely had anything wrong with them. They are solid devices. This 14 Pro Max had the screen, the camera issue when it's shaking and doing a bunch of stuff. Just had a bunch of issues, and I don't feel like this feels like iOS and the iPhone of old. It just, I don't know. I feel like they missed the mark with the 14 Pro. I think this is one of the most underwhelming iPhones that's came out in a very long time from my experience. And I don't even want to talk about eSIM. The eSIM is just terrible. When you're going from iPhone to iPhone, sure, it works just fine. But if somebody who switches from Android to iPhone or vice versa, absolute nightmare. Apple, I get what you're doing. I get what you're trying to do. No, forget that. I don't get what you're doing, but give us a SIM card slot back. Why is a SIM card slot bothering you? Just bring it back. I don't get why you just want to snatch it away from us. Anyway, that's my experience with the 14 Pro Max. I told myself if the Apple Store sold new 13 Pro Maxes, I would be prone to get a new 13 Pro Max. Keep this for my accessories and use my 13 because that experience over there was flawless when it came to my 13 Pro Max. That's it, man. Let me know in the comment section down below if you got a 14 Pro Max. Let me know your experience. I'm thinking about running my 14 Plus for a little bit just to see if it is fine. I don't have any issues with that. Could be my Pro Max. Could have a bad unit. I don't know. If I get another one, I'll update you. Hit the sub button if you want more videos like this. If you want to see me do more talking videos, let me know. I feel like people don't want to see me cut the camera on and just ramble, but let me know what it is, man. Go get yourself a Sheath case. Sub up. Be safe. Catch you on the next one. Later.